Zion just did a couple of threes, and the strokers look pretty good. On the crossover, go! He will.
Zion Williamson is one of the most anticipated players to come out of college ever since, LeBron James. Wemby's the only player that really took that crown recently, but before that it was Zion. And really before that it was Lonzo-ish, but, Zion was the one that we all looked at to be like, he has the ability to have a phenomenal career. But so far, it has been a little bit rocky. And the reason why is because of a lot of things, really, but mostly it just always comes down to just Zion. And that's really unfortunate because Zion has all the tools. He has a team that builds around him. He has the physical attributes. He has the strength. He has the hops. He has everything. And that's one of the things that, really got him drafted in the first place is the fact that he has a phenomenal amount of motor. At least that's what we thought he did, where he would get the ball and then you gotta watch out because Zion is 280 pounds or something like that, and he's going to jump up 30, 40 inches in the air and dunk on you. And that's not something that you really want to be a part of. But there was a lot of things that if you were to look at early Zion, you would see that, okay, there might be a few problems here and there. And I know a lot of people will look at his personality and say is there something wrong with being a nice guy or an approachable guy? And that if you're an approachable guy or a nice guy, that you can't be a Mamba mentality type of person, a Kobe Bryant type of person. And although there are critiques on that, especially with how they are framing it is wrong, they're not entirely incorrect. Zion Williamson is one of those players, and this is in line with a lot of new guys that's coming into the league, is that, they were given a lot of money with really nothing to show for it. And it is really just simply based off the fact that, hey, we can see in the future that you can be one of those great players for our team. And they're not really incorrect on that either. For the Pelicans to give him such a sizable contract, it's really kind of just anchoring down their future and to make sure that nobody else can pick up Zion for cheap. And if they are going to give up Zion, that they're going to get somebody in return or a bunch of pieces in return that actually, benefits them in a great way. But here's the issue with everything that's happening with Zion. And as everybody has seen, Zion has a couple of issues, and that stems from two things. He's injury prone, and also he's out of shape. And that's one of those things where it's damn, does it really have to be that? And both of those, being out of shape and being injury prone, both kind of goes hand in hand because of what type of injuries he's getting. He's getting back injuries, he's getting hip injuries. And part of that is simply because his gait is out of control. He's always leaning forward. The way he walks is like a wobbly penguin. And listen, I'm no sports doctor or anything like that. But what I do understand is that if it doesn't look normal, right? If your walking doesn't look normal, you're going to have a lot of issues. If there's a lot of problems with your gait, you're going to have a lot of issues when it comes to your hips. You're probably going to have a lot of issues when it comes to your knees, ankles, and even back because of a lot of muscles that has to basically overwork themselves in order for you to seem stable. But it's not going to last for long. And Zion has been one of those people who have not been able to play a full season. Probably played 20, 30 games, out for a majority of the year for injuries that you kind of scratch your head on. But I'm not the type of person to kind of go at somebody for claiming that they're injured, even if their injury is not that much, because I do think that the injuries that Zion has gotten has been quite sizable. But I think there's another issue that really kind of coincides with those injuries, and that's mainly because he's out of shape. As we all seen the fat Zion memes and here and there, and him taking the James Harden route and having a fat suit and all that. The jokes are all fun and games, but in all honesty, he's not in basketball shape. He's not in elite basketball shape that you need to be. As we see in the off season, this happens all the time where players kind of thin out because you're working constantly. You're probably on a stricter regimen. But when you're on a 82 game season, there's going to be times where you're not in the city where your nutritionist is at, and then it really falls on you to make sure that you are doing what you need to do in order for you to stay healthy and in top-notch shape. And we see every single time, the summer, he's always thin, he's thinning out and whatnot, and it gives a lot of people hope, very similar to, Ben Simmons and how he's shooting in the offseason, and then in the actual regular season, he's actually really not shooting at all. Even though I will say this season for Ben Simmons, regardless, even though he's been injured, he's actually been on the up and up in terms of actually playing quite well. But in terms for Zion, it has not been so kind to him. Where Zion will be thin in the summer, you see all the muscles, you see everything that kind of makes you excited for the actual NBA season for him. And then within like 2-3 weeks of the season, you start to see he's gaining a lot of weight. And you see that it actually has impact on the floor, where he's able to, do what he needs to do. But a little bit of his vertical has kind of went down, as many people expected it to. But not to this degree. I mean, he's not in his 8th season in the NBA where, naturally your physicality starts to decline a little bit. You might not be able to jump as high. You might not be able to be as quick or be as fast, right? But he's he's still early in his career. For him to have the hops that he came into the league with, for that to be kind of like, somewhat there but not consistently there as he used to, is really concerning. But the more concerning part is the fact that, when it comes to defense, he is not there at all. He's not there consistently. And what I mean by this is that, the NBA teams that goes against him, that actually has someone that's matched up well, they actually put him on an ISO. They want him to guard them because they know that he's not quick enough. He's not fast enough. He might be strong and burly. He might not be able to back him down. But you can for sure get around him. And we see multiple times where NBA teams just abuse Zion on the ISO, Zion on a pick and roll, making sure that he's able to be influenced by the offense and what schemes that they put out on there, instead of just having him roam around. Because, he's pretty good when he roams around. But at the end of the day, if you put him inside, a pick and roll, you put him on an outside person that's actually a 3-point shooter, he can't really do anything. And plus, there are multiple times where we see that, he takes plays off, and you just kind of shake your head in terms of what's happening over there? Why are you taking plays off? And we see that, he's just simply just not in shape. It's not like he's taking plays off because, he's just lazy, he doesn't want to work. He's huffing and puffing. It's tough. 82 game season for NBA players are no joke. I wouldn't want to do it for my day job either. But this is something that he chose to do. This is something that he's contractually obligated to do. And the fact that the Pelicans organization are literally begging him to stay in shape, literally begging him to be focused on the court, just shows that he just does not have that mentality right now, at least, to be the person that we were all hyping him up to be. Now, this doesn't mean that it's over, because it happens a lot when you're talking about a lot of young players going into the league. And I know a lot of people say, oh, it's the youngest now. But, even other players, like other great all-time players, have had issues in their career when it comes to focus and trying to focus on their craft and actually become a better player. But I'd be remiss to say that it doesn't have anything to do with the new age of young guys. And I don't want to be one of those old heads that say oh yeah, these new guys are all bad or anything like that. But I do think that there is something to say about paying people before they actually produce anything. And right now, Zion has not really produced anything to get the contract that he's worth. And I'm not trying to be a person that pocket watch, go get your money. But at the end of the day, it's kind of if you're going to get paid life-changing payment that's going to change your family's lives and your future generations' lives, what is there to actually incentivize you to actually play better? You already got the contract, and most likely than not, he's probably going to get another contract. If it's going to be as big as this one that he has right now, probably not. But he's going to get multiple contracts. He's going to have a decent career. But that's not the career that we all thought Zion was going to have. And so you kind of think, what are ways that Zion can improve? And, of course, the one thing that I think just in general is the fact that he needs to improve in his mentality. His mentality is just simply not there when it comes to basketball. And I think that if he were to kind of just focus in, truly buy in, because he mentioned this before in a press conference, that buying in was one of the things that he had to really work on, because he didn't believe in his coach. And I still believe that he probably, doesn't have the full 100% faith in his coach that he really needs to be. But if he were able to focus in, key in, buy in, make sure that he's able to get his team, who's actually a well-designed team for Zion, when you have, players like CJ McCollum to stretch out the floor, you have players like Brandon Ingram, you have Jose Alvarado, and then you also have, Valanciunas, who's actually good to, clean up all of Zion's mistakes in the interior, right? And then you have, a few people coming off of the bench. They actually have a pretty good team, and that if they're going to go anywhere. They're going to have Zion to be the one to pave the way. And this is the real issue with the whole thing about just, building around Zion, is that if he's not doing what he needs to do, he's not going to take you to the promised land. And we saw in this in-season tournament where they got blasted 40 points by the Lakers. Now, Lakers are no joke. They're a tough team. But they are a beatable team. And if Zion is on his P's and Q's, right, instead of getting exploited in pick and rolls constantly, then they probably had a good chance to at least make the game competitive. Winning the game is something that I can never guarantee, but at least making it competitive and not a 40-point blowout. And we see this up and down when it comes to the New Orleans from years of experience, but this is a new team. This is a different team. It's not the team that, was the Anthony Davis and the DeMarcus Cousins. No, it's not that team. It's not the team post that, which has been absolute terrible. This is a new team that actually has a legitimate shot to be a 6th seed and 7th seed, 8th seed, to make it into the play-ins and playoffs, but they just simply can't because the leader of the team, or the person that they're building around, Zion Williamson, is just simply not focused. He's not bought in. And I think the biggest thing, and listen, the focus thing, the mental thing is definitely important. But the biggest thing is that he simply needs to get on a diet. Now, I know that is one of the most crazy things to say, right? And I understand that weight fluctuates all the time. And it's not to denigrate people who have weight issues or anything like that. But he needs to be on a diet that at least has him perform at the level that he needs to be. Because we see every single time, and he has to take it serious himself too. You see every single time that when it comes to the season, he gains weight. And it just comes down to just poor focus off the court, and also just having the ability to kind of get whatever gourmet meal you want. But also on the flip side of that, you also have, people who are nutritionists that are able to give you anything that you want anyway, right? And make sure that you eat healthy. And we see with LeBron that he's able to kind of keep his peak fitness, so it's not impossible. And I'm not saying that he has to be LeBron in terms of the excruciating details that LeBron probably goes through when it comes to being meticulous on how he recovers and whatnot. Zion's still young. He still can make mistakes in terms of recovery, and not really emphasizing that, even though he should. But still, I think that you can see examples of the league of people who have stayed in shape for a very long time because of their diet, because of how they take care of their body. And Zion, like many other people have stated, is not one of those people. And so he has to be one of those people to take care of his body and do something different. Because if he doesn't, the Pelicans are just wasting their time, and so is Zion.